Hey babes, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya and today's video is going to be why dating shows are toxic for black women. I'm gonna do my makeup and talk with you guys about, the topic at hand. I won't be sharing any details about my makeup. They'll be in the description box below. So let's get into it. I've watched a lot of dating shows, like from all of MTV's dating shows, girl, BET, like I've been watching dating shows for a really long time. I remember constantly feeling the way that the black women were being treated on the show was very different than the other groups of women on the same exact show. This topic really interested me because I was just like, dating shows are very toxic for black women. And I think we should have more conversations about like the harmful effects of media on the black community and black women specifically, and address some of this stuff so that hopefully we can start getting better representation, or at least when we are consuming this media, we're aware of it. Obviously, there are Eurocentric beauty standards. You know what that means? Eurocentric beauty standards are beauty standards, the beauty ideals that are applied to people in society to be deemed beautiful. And within the context of America, there's this hyper focus on European ideas and features. And so like these Eurocentric beauty standards are obviously applied throughout society, but it's like on dating shows, it's like this hyper focus on like looking a certain way. So I feel like the blue-eyed blonde girls get all of the love on dating shows. It doesn't matter what the dating show is about. I feel like for the most part, they get all the love, and it's like all this attention, and everyone that doesn't fit into that mold, there's like a comparison against them. So like there's like, the whole blonde versus brunette thing that exists within society, but I feel like it's a hyper focus in dating shows. So think about it, okay? So on dating shows, there's always like this guy like, yeah, do I want a brunette or do I want a blonde, right? And so that's the conversation. The conversation isn't even talking about other groups of women, specifically, not even like, oh yeah, do I want a black girl? It's not, we don't even get there. So there's just like this constant need to fit into these binaries of what women and beauty are supposed to look like. And so I kept finding myself, okay, well, you're not like, they're not checking for the black girls because they don't look and they don't fit this specific mold. And so I feel like it's really interesting and problematic to see that black women are being held to like these specific standards in dating shows. It feels always unfair to me because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but if we all collectively agree that these are going to be the beauty standards for this specific TV show, for our society, whatever, it already puts us at a disadvantage because we don't look like them. And it's fine that we don't look like them. There's a lot of beautiful black women. Oftentimes, I feel like the black women on the show be the baddest, personally. We're gonna get into that more later, but I feel like a lot of the black women are like usually the prettiest, or if not one of the prettiest on the entire show, and they end up getting like no love, which is problematic AF, If we start to look at these shows like Love Island, Too Hot to Handle, Ex on the Beach, Married at First Sight, shout out to Joulzy. She does a whole video about black women and how it's toxic and problematic. Check out her video, I'll link it below. But these shows like illustrate that over and over and over again, that black women are being held to standards that other groups of women aren't because of these Eurocentric beauty standards. So it's just like, I don't know, dating shows, there's usually like some like competitive element to it, whether it's not as clear. Like in Love is Blind, the competitive element is very much so like hidden. You wouldn't be able to see it as easily as you can see the competitive element in something like Are You the One? Like where like the whole entire concept is you finding this person for like a monetary reason. But like that still exists in Love is Blind in certain ways, like it's a race to finding the person. And I mean, you get more airtime, you get more access. There's a whole reality TV star to influencer pipeline. So there is this benefit to like finding partnership on these dating shows. I think that when you are in these competitive environments and it's already stacked against black women because these shows hyper focus on Eurocentric beauty standards, it creates an unfair advantage, period. And then I feel like when you start seeing that media all over and over again of like the black girls not getting chosen, it makes you think that like subconsciously that there's something wrong with the black girls, and it's not. There's nothing wrong with us. It's the show, it's the expectations, it's the people they're choosing. There's a lot of other factors that are never discussed. this is like one of the top tier points for me. A lot of the black women on dating shows get paired with black men who do not like black women, which is so problematic. And it's not just black men, they also get paired with non-black men who don't like black women, or just like they'll get put on a show and then none of the men like black women and have dated black women or have any interest in dating black women, which is like obviously a disadvantage for the black women on the show seeking love. But it really grinds my gears when they continuously put black women in partnership with black men who do not date black women, and then they like abuse them the entire freaking time. It's such a toxic relationship. And I feel like that's something, you know, black women we already deal with in society, is having black men that don't actually like black women, which is, you know, super problematic for a bunch of reasons. A lot of like internalized hatred and racism and, you know, all of the things. But on a dating show, I feel like it's particularly heinous because it's for the entire world to see, and they have contracts, so they usually have to like stick it out. I feel like the reason why this keeps happening is because I think that the people that do the casting are not being like really like culturally aware of like the fact that there are a lot of black men that don't date black women. I think that they just automatically see like they automatically see black people and they think they're gonna get along together. I also think they like to use it as like a marketing tool and be like, oh yeah, like he doesn't really like her, like as if it's like a plot twist, and it's not. It's disgusting, it's abusive, and it's toxic, and it should not continuously happen. And I also think it's because they might be having some difficulty finding black men that actually like black women to be put on the show, which says a lot about our society. I think they keep putting black men on these shows and pairing them with black women because they want black viewership, and they know that black couples are going to give them an increase of black viewership. And black people, when it comes to television, is where the money is. We consume the most amount of TV in America. And so I don't know, I kind of feel like they put black women on this show to like for marketing reasons, like, which is like, yeah, it's a show, but like other groups of women aren't getting put on the show for marketing reasons. Like, let's just be real. They're getting put on the show because it's a show about dating. But it's like black women were like, I feel like we're fulfilling like a diversity quota, because it's not like, it doesn't seem by the people that they choose when they keep choosing cast that do not actually like black women, it feels very much so like they just wanted to be able to say they had a black woman on there to increase black viewership, and to also check that off the diversity box and say, yeah, we got one. And I think that is so problematic and toxic, because if you are not putting black women on the show for these actual opportunities of love and exposure and all of that, I mean, they get horrible edits, they have storylines that are harmful to them, their character, like literally like the way that they're viewed in society, and then to the black community and black women in general that are watching at home. I have a lot of problems with, because here the reality is, if they did care, if a lot of these shows cared about black women and about their experiences and their storylines on these shows, they would make sure that there were men on the shows that actually liked black women, and they don't do that. And then it's like, I've seen a lot of dating shows where the black woman on the show ends up like alone, like not just in terms of like having nobody to date, which that becomes like a really big problem, and it becomes like, you know, a very like embarrassing and isolating experience. But then it's like they almost get isolated from the other cast members who are non-black, because they're not creating safe environments for black women. I mean, just like the relationships between the black women and their cast members, their other female cast members, is already toxic, not even talking about the dating. But then when you get into dating, and then you see black women that are like consistently being left alone, and they don't have like partners for the different challenges, and they're consistently being chosen last. Like, raise your hand if you've been watching a dating show and there's some type of challenge or some type of partner picking and the black woman gets chosen last. Okay, see, like, I absolutely ridiculous. When a lot of these black women get paired with black men that don't actually like black women, I feel like they're just always in these like super toxic situations. Then it's kind of like they start to punish these black women for the fact that they're not white, and that the producers push the black people being together despite them not liking black women, which is like not the fault, especially in Married at First Sight. Like at Married at First Sight, I feel like that stuff happens all the time, and I'm like, why would you pair this black woman who's amazing, ready for marriage, is a great person, with this black man who has openly said over and over again that he does not want a partner that is black? Why would you put her through that? And it's like, it's for storyline, it's for TV, but like beyond that, we're not looking at like the psychological implications of what that does to her, and how like these toxic situations are so problematic, and we're just watching it on TV for entertainment. It's sick. It's so bad. It's horrible. And if we're honest, like, we really don't see that happen very often for other groups of people. Like with the whole Love is Blind situation with Shake and Deepti, that is like one of the first times I have ever seen on TV a non-black man openly state that he doesn't regularly date a woman of his own race. Now with black men, we see that all the time. Black people, we see it all the time on television, but that was like one of the first times I've ever seen it with the non-black people, and there was like a huge outrage about it because people are like, that's weird, like that's embarrassing, like the way that he's treating her is bad. But we're so used to seeing it with black women. I mean, people aren't even bad, they don't even bat an eye when it happens. Okay, and what another thing that like really grinds my gears, I just hate that there's this like clear division. Like the black women will be like in great careers, very, very smart, well-rounded, have so much to offer, like very articulate, like all of these amazing things, and then they won't get chosen for partnership. And then you see like their counterparts are like, I mean, some of them like barely have jobs, they're like an absolute complete mess, like shit-faced drunk all the time, they cause fights throughout the house, like they are not a catch at all, but they're like praised on the show, by the men on the show, by the viewers at home, and the black women are like completely pushed to the back. Like they are not picked, they are not checked for, they are not given like their flowers in any regard. Like they're seen as like a less than partner, even when they have more to offer, even when they're more beautiful. And it drives me absolutely, like, I don't know, it makes me very upset. I really don't like that, because I feel like it sets this idea that like because we are black women, we are inherently inferior, and that is not true. Like that is obviously not true. And I just think that like these, like they do this for storyline. Now let's just get into like the black women that they typically choose for these roles and positions. I think that we can't have this conversation without talking about the fact that a lot of the times when we do see black women being chosen, not always, when we do see black women being chosen, they are closer to Eurocentric beauty standards. Whether that means that they are biracial, whether that means they have features that are more closer to Eurocentric ideas, so they have smaller noses, they have smaller lips, different hair textures, or they're not wearing the natural hair texture, they are wearing wigs, weaves, whatever. Those are the women that get chosen. Very rarely do we see a dark-skinned black woman with natural hair or more Afrocentric hairstyles like locks and braids and twists or anything like that, who has, you know, more traditionally African features. We just don't see it that often. We just don't. We don't. And the black women that they're choosing are like top tier. Like I said earlier, like they'll be in great careers, they are very articulate, extremely smart, you know, just very well-rounded people, but in comparison their white castmates are like bottom of the fucking barrel. They have nothing to offer except for the fact that they are white. Whereas black women, we are like we have to be the best of the best, or look a certain way or act a certain way to even get our foot in the door. Get in the door and we find out that the door is freaking dilapidated, okay? We find out that the door is an absolute fucking shit show. Like, And so I think that like the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I think it's important for us to have dialogue about like what we're consuming. We're consuming this over and over and over again, and like I definitely think it's harmful to constantly see Black women being treated like this in dating environments. I mean, obviously some of this like happens in normal, regular, everyday life outside of television, but I mean there are ways that Black women have like successful dating lives and dating stories, and so I don't know why we're not seeing that replicated more. And on top of that, like it's usually like one Black woman on the show. There's never enough Black people. There's always multiple white people, but no, we can only ever have like one black couple, or one Black woman and one Black man. And so it's just like we should be aware of the problematic nature of the things that we are consuming, and ask more out of these companies and be like, yeah, actually I'm not going to consume this anymore. I won't be consuming television that isn't placing Black women in better positions and offering more representation in their shows, like, and being like, I'm not going to consume this just because it has a Black cast. I only consume media that offers as safe as and as non-toxic as possible situations for Black women. I mean, obviously dating shows in general are going to have some toxic and problematic nature to it, but there are ways that they can do it and make it less harmful. And with Black women, I mean, we have to fight to even get on the show. So I think that we have to like ask, like, what is our responsibility as consumers? Are we going to continue to watch these things? Are we going to actively like ask through social media? Are we going to write letters? Like, are we going to just completely ignore these media forms, take what we get? Are we only going to consume dating shows that are created by Black people for Black people? Like, what's the answer to this? Is the answer just to have dialogue so that we're aware? I don't know, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. Like, the whole point of this video is to add on to an existing conversation and to bring the conversation to my social media platforms and my channels, because I think it's fascinating. I also know that the majority of my followers are Black women, and so I want to know like how you guys feel about dating shows. Like, do you think they're toxic and problematic? Have you noticed a lot of the things that I'm talking about in today's video? Is this like a first for you? Have you never considered in this way? Like, I want to know what you guys think about this and what you guys think the answer is, if there even is one. Okay, so that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video style. I want to do like way more videos like this, like commentary styles. This is actually like the type of videos I started my channel to make, but I don't know, I just didn't end up making them, and so I want to really get into it and make them more often. So let me know what you guys think below about everything that we talked about, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye babes.